Hey everybody, how's it going? I am Shane.
I'm Stephanie.
PDQ.com.
Welcome to our webcast today.
Right over here, sweetheart.
It's a little bit different. It's a little different than the last camera. So.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out, we're starting a new video series, SQL Snippets with Stephanie. I think we've got one, maybe two posted, but she's going to be seeing little nuggets, little snippets, just a few minutes each on some great SQL to help you with your mostly inventory, but also deploy, and just also to help brush up your SQL knowledge. So,
yep.
And let's move over here and just jump on it. So what?
All right, that sounds good.
This is an area that a lot of I know from talking to a lot of our customers, they're afraid of SQL. They don't know it, or they're not comfortable with it. But there are times. The reason we made SQL reports available, or there's some data that you can't get from a basic report.
Steph's going to help us so it's not so scary.
Correct.
We're gonna.
And she'll stare at the right camera.
Yeah. Maybe so.
No guarantees.
No guarantees. Yeah. Are we?
I'm going to step behind you just for a second here. One moment.
Let's go.
All
Ahead.
right.
Let's go.
There you
We'll
go.
just jump back into our old SQL folder. Do you want to start from scratch, or?
Yeah, but you know what? This is yours. You've got the audience. Let's jump on it.
All right, sounds good. All right, so let's see. We have created a SQL folder here.
Mm-hmm.
We did that by going to the reports folder, right-clicking, and hitting new, and then report folder. So we just created a SQL folder.
Just a good way to organize your different folder. Your different. I've seen people with just one folder that has 80 reports.
Yeah.
That's how my desk is organized. Everything's in a big pile.
And yet you have one of the cleanest houses I've ever been to.
That's called a maid service, my friend. Maid service.
Can we get a maid service for his desk, please?
Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and run a new report. We're in the SQL folder. We're just going to create a new report. So hit new report, and we're going to hit SQL report here.
Oh, yes. The SQL report that no one has ever run.
So you're going to see that it auto-populates just a really basic report here that shows you your computer names, computer description, and it's pulling from the computer table, and you can see that with the from statement. And then what's the most important, right, is the where clause here.
Well, it's very important. Those of you who are familiar with basic reports, you know about the collection source. That is, if you have a report or a collection selected and you run a report, it will only pull the results of that report from the members of that collection.
Correct.
And then you can change that. You can run a report and just click that select collection source and always change your collections. Well, that's in a basic report. If you want to be able to honor the collection membership, this will not work if you're using a regular SQL editor. Outside of us, outside of PDQ, we have a function called computer filter. Notice it's got to be between the less than and greater than. And basically that's just, we do have one where clause there, and that is just where the computer is in whatever collection source you've selected.
Right, so by default, if we don't select anything or we delete this where clause line, it will run against all computers no matter what.
Correct.
So should we just run this basic report? Or should we just start?
Let's go ahead and run it and show
Let's run it. So we're going to say we're selecting the computer name in the description column from the computers table, and we're running from all computers because we didn't select a collection source. So right now we don't really have any information in the descriptions column. So let's go back to define report and start customizing some queries.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, I won't, just because I'm slow over here, guys.
You don't have to give that as a preamble. Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows I'm slow. Okay. So, again, we can do a collection source here, and that will automatically do a filter from the start.
Yeah, the computer filter.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try it. We can go ahead and hit a collection source. Since we have 28 computers on this network, let's go to one that says non-standard shares 5 computers. So we run the report, and only of those 5 computers in that collection source specifically populate.
Yep, because we're only looking at those that have non-standard shares.
Right.
Now, if you go back to define report and just do a quick Control X so we can paste it back. Just cut that where clause.
Okay.
And we still are. If you notice, move that right around there. You can see we're still on non-standard shares. You can see that right above the.
This is the collection source, right?
Go ahead and run it. Now, without that where clause, it's going to pull up all the computers.
Okay.
So
Bam.
it just that computer filter function just really does honor the collection source. So let's go ahead and
Right.
back to define report and paste that.
All right, let's paste it back.
So we don't, Lex, I blame you.
I'm sorry.
I'm starting to start
For
sentences
everything.
with so.
All right, I won't say anything unless it's almost funny.
Okay, so that means you're going to be silent. So we're going to
The
go ahead
entire
and
day.
delete.
Let's delete.
See, I did it again. Remove description. Now it's important, all the different rows that you select, they have to be separated by a comma except for the last one.
Right.
So here we're saying from the computers table, grab name.
We're going to alias it to computer name.
Let's show the tables real quick and highlight computers table. So on the left,
Sure.
you'll see all the different tables and views. In this case, it's the same thing for you. These are all the different columns that are available in the computers table.
Right.
So let's go ahead and scroll down. Let's do 80. Let's go up to 80, and let's do 80 location.
Okay.
There we go. So since 80 location is the last, in this case, it's
Right.
the last thing. We're not going to have to put a comma after
No
it.
comma.
Now let's go ahead and run it.
It looks like we don't have much information for that as well.
We don't. Looks like we haven't
Let's do
done an 80
OS
scan.
name.
There we go.
Let's hit.
You want to do OS? Okay.
Yeah.
So you can also just highlight that, delete it, and then just type in OS name.
Do you want to do IP address?
Yeah, sure. So she'll put a comma.
So, Steph, you keep putting those on a different line. As long as there's a comma, it doesn't matter. You can just make one big long line,
Yeah.
but to
Right.
make it readable.
Yeah,
it's
for
mostly-
organization.
Okay.
It's kind of like a best practice. It helps me a lot. Doesn't necessarily mean that anybody has to do it, but for me, for organization, that's just kind of how I learned. So, that's,
So there we go. This is, and obviously some of these what we're showing you here, you could do in a basic report.
yeah.
And you've got some different reports that you think, just to help enlighten, do you want to show some of those reports?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do
So
that.
first of all, go back to define report. Notice the default name is new report. Just change that to whatever you want. Just basic. You just
You want to
computer
save this
IP
report
or
and start a new
something.
one?
Yeah, sure. Just save it, just so they can see it. And remember, one of the differences between reports and collections. Collections you can take actions on. Like you can use a collection or members of a collection to deploy a package from PDQ Deploy. You don't deploy to a report. Report can give you more information than a collection.
Right.
But a collection is, I know these computers meet this requirement, and I might want to run a command against them, a tool, a deployment, a scan,
Right.
or whatever. So,
Like if you have a collection that's computers that are online, then you don't need to ask if they're online.
correct. You know that, and collections are meant to take actions on, whereas reports are meant just to convey information. So what are we
Cool.
going to show?
So let's just say we're in our office here and we want to know who here has more than one monitor at their computer desk.
Okay.
Can we pull it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to know computers with more than one monitor and what those are. So let's go ahead. Should we script it or should we just copy and paste?
Just copy and paste.
Copy and paste. One thing you definitely want
Of
to.
course, I haven't seen how fast you type. If it's me or Lex, we definitely copy and paste.
It's always
It's
copy
a-
and paste for me.
it's a whole new-
I
it's a-
can't spell.
It's a whole new adventure. It's not just typing; it's an adventure. All right. So, really quick, I want to call out. You're now using.
Right, I'm an abbreviation.
Yes.
Right. So you'll see here when we're saying
I'm going to show you
select.
this. See if this works. The highlighter. It's Apple space, right? Or Apple. It's a Windows space.
If we had Apple, yeah.
Yeah, right
Oh,
there.
that's nice.
So it's the C. Notice instead of computers, she's calling it C.name.
Right.
She's defining the computers table and just grabbing the first letter. You can call it whatever you want.
Right, so you can see where I defined that new name. Here, where's the mouse?
Just go ahead and move it. Sometimes you have to.
Wiggle.
There we go. Sorry, everybody. Mice.
So that's right by the
These
from
mice.
statement, right? So from computers, and then you put C. That's the new name for computers.
Right, so you always put the abbreviation, whatever you want it to be. You could name it comp, you could name it anything you really want, and then it just becomes a shortcut, and it saves a whole lot of time, especially when you want to pull specific columns into a report and not have to type out computers.name, computers.description. It just helps a lot. So
what you're trying to say is you're efficient.
So there's the C right
I
there.
I like to pretend.
And there's where she's defining it right under there. So it's when after the from computers, right after that you specify after the table that you call on the from computers space C, because from here on out it will be known as C.
Right. Let's go ahead and put brackets around this. Okay, so right now we are going to select the computer name. We're going to count those. We're going to count that number here with this aggregate function count. We're going to group. We're going to concatenate a group, right? A certain column, which is going to tell us the description of all of these monitors. So if you have a different brands or generic PNP monitor, that will come up separated by commas, which is our delimiter.
Cool.
And you can see this here. So let's.
And this is this group concat is not available in a basic report. That's one of the reasons why we're showing this to you.
Right. This is
And
more
actually,
of a dynamic.
after you run this, I'll hurry and show them what it looks like if you don't use that. Okay.
Okay, cool. Let's run this. So right now we see that only for, well, actually let's define here. We're saying that they have a count of over one monitor. So not just one, at least two or any more than that.
Only show us, that's what the having is. The having is saying only show us computers that have a number of displays greater than one.
Correct. So it looks like on our network, we have only 4 different computers that have more than one monitor. Let's extend that a little bit.
And if you have the drivers for those monitors installed, then those drivers would show up here. If you
Right.
don't, obviously we have drivers, they wouldn't work without it, but in this case we know that they're using the generic PNP monitor. If you've got driver software that you want installed and you see this, I need to deploy and build a package and deploy the monitor drivers out to those computers, and then you'll see, Samsung or Sony or whatever the monitor happens to be. So this is great. I like this because if without that group concat, here's what we'd be looking at.
Yeah, let's take it away.
May I? I'm just going to hit save real quick.
Okay.
So I'll come over here and do a new report. Do a basic report. So this is the basic. I'm going to say we'll show computer.
Right.
And then from the computer, we also want to show the display model. We'll just do that. Actually, we'll also show the display description.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
want to see that.
And we'll just hit run. And you will notice most of the computers here have one, but look at Rick Sanchez, 1, 2, listed twice.
Right. Well,
Rick Sanchez,
1 and 2.
Yeah, he's
That's two different machines.
Stud 2 has two records. Thank you.
Right.
Stud 2, and if you're saying I don't want to show 2 records or 3 or 4, however many monitors they
Right.
have, that's where the group concat comes in. I won't save that. I'll let you get back to it.
So Stephanie, when you do counting, do you have to group it to get the counts to go?
You don't have to, but it will. If you don't, then it will just show the same number for each different line, each row. But if you do, then it will.
Do you mind if we go back? What he's asking is, was that new report? By the way, when you double click on a report, it's going to run it. If you right click, the default is to open and run. If you just want to define it, not run it, you can do this. So what Lex is talking about is, do you have to group it? There are times you have to group it, especially if you want to do what's called a having.
Yeah, you always have to have a group by clause when you're using the having clause. If you don't, you take away group by, then you'll throw a syntax error. essentially.
Having is similar to a where clause. A where clause will look at each returned row, and a having will look at all of the returned rows. So
Right.
it only runs at the very end of a query. And then there are times it's very, very necessary.
And then, so we already ran this one, correct?
Yep, yeah, I just wanted to, Lex was asking a question, so.
So then we ordered it by descending so we could see how many.
Yeah, if you want,
monitors
so
were.
descending, DESC, there's also ASC is ascending.
Right.
you
So
want.
we're saying we want to order this report from, by the count of those monitors in a descending order. So it goes 4, 3, 2, and you'd see that. And if we had more, then that's how the differentiation would look. Okay, so do we want to?
And by the way, we're going to take, Stephanie's got these queries. These will be available in
the bonus content.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, so I want to report on applications in a specific collection. And we can order these in different ways if we'd like.
You've got I gotta tell everybody, she's a world class snowboarder, and yet she's this SQL wizard.
Yeah, sometimes. But
Stephanie's an
I mean, the world class snowboarder sometimes.
The proud daughter of Massachusetts.
Yeah, Bostonian all the way, you know.
She's hiding her accent.
Back at the data.
Yeah.
Drink a beer.
Let's run the reports and get some data. All right, we're gonna write some queries. Okay, let's do. I'm just kidding.
We're gonna write some wicked queries.
We're wicked smart on this. Okay. All right, so on this report, we're going to look at applications. We're reporting on applications on the computers in specific collection sources. Like if we don't pick the computer filter, which we see in this where clause here, we know that we are going to run against all computers unless we select a collection source. Okay. Same as the first example. So we want to see the computer name, and we want to see applications, right? Okay. But the only way that we can look at these two tables or information, these columns from these two tables, is to do a join. And so you'll see here we have a select statement. We're choosing the columns. We're saying table name, column name from the computers table, which we abbreviated to C. Mm-hmm. But we also need to join the applications table, or else those won't pull together.
Correct.
So what's similar about the computers table and the applications table is that they have the same column, and that is computer ID. So that's going to be a key in one primary, foreign in another. So in SQLite,
you'll usually hear the term primary key. It's often used incorrectly because it depends on the context, whether it's foreign or primary. But primary key, the takeaway is to join two tables.
You need a similar,
correctly.
Right. Yeah.
You need to be able to say these two IDs must match. Otherwise, you're matching every computer with everything in applications.
Right. Right.
Instead, you're saying map everything in computer as long as the ID for this computer is also the ID in applications.
Right. So it is going to pull all that information. We could say like a select star, which would pull all columns from both tables in on the computer ID. But let's just make it a smaller report. We don't need all that information. So we're saying we're going to join the applications table to the computers table, and we're using the computer ID column to do that. SQLite, you have the ability to use the using.
Kind of a shortcut for joining.
If you were using like SQL Server, you would use like on C dot computer ID equal. We can do the same thing. Okay, cool. So we're still saying we're going to pull from all computers, and we're going to group by the computer name, and we're going to order that by the count of those computer names in a descending order. So when we run this report, you can obviously see that we're ordering from the computer count here.
And that's the number. That's the number of applications.
That is. Let's make sure.
What you're looking at?
Right. It's going to show you. Yep. Well, it's saying it, but you could change this to a name, and it would be the same thing as well. So, and then we could also do a group concat, and then it would list all of those different applications that are.
Yeah, but when you do a group concat with 48 applications, you've got one column that's going to have 48 items delimited by a comma.
Right. So.
But it's a good, like that display example. You're not going to have 48 displays.
Right.
If you are, that's pretty kind of awesome. You're going to have 2, 3, 4. So that's a great time to concat. When you know that the width of the column isn't going to get so outrageous that it's unreadable.
Right. So we could take away that group by, and then we'd have 48 different rows of Rick Sanchez too. And
yes.
So we make this a little bit more basic and.
I want to see it.
No.
No.
Let's pull up.
Want to do the on?
Yeah, let's show them. So we are using the using. Once again, this is a kind of a shortcut in SQLite. But for those SQL purists out there, that takes a little longer to actually join a table. So what you do is you'll say, I want to join applications on, and then you literally do computer ID, C computer ID equals a computer ID.
Right. So we're saying that those are the columns that match in both the tables, and that's how we're joining them. And it's going to pull the same exact results, but it's just a nice little shortcut in SQLite. Doesn't exist in other
like if you're using Microsoft
systems, SQL Server Management Studio, things like that. So let's see here.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a question. And real quick, save this report. Just save it so we can. You keep on
Dear
overriding.
Shane and Stephanie, where is it advised to use reports versus collections for PDQ best practices? Thanks, Dan S.
Mind if I take this one?
Sure.
Hey, Dan. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of different examples of when it's right to use them. Let's say, in fact, if you, well, she's typing, so I'm going to be speaking. Do you need to type?
No.
All right. So let's look at our collection library, and close those Windows updates. I'm going to go over here to Applications, Chrome. So notice I've got Chrome Enterprise Old. What I know about these computers, and there's 21 computers. These 21 computers have an old version of Chrome.
Right.
We know that it's not the latest, but we don't know what version of Chrome it is, except for it's not the latest. If you wanted to know what each version of these of Chrome these computers had, you would want a report, because
Right.
we don't show the application information here. That would be very difficult.
So say you wanted to go and uninstall or get rid of those old applications. So you want to see your most recent version, right?
Yeah.
And then get rid. That would be a huge benefit of reporting on
Absolutely.
things like this.
But with the collection, hey, all I know is these are old. They might be one version back, it might be 20 back. All I've got to do is I can right-click on this and say Tools, PDQ Deploy, and as long as I have that Chrome package out there, I could just say grab this Chrome package and deploy it.
Right. For now.
And I don't care what version it is, it's going to get up to date to the latest version. But if you wanted to take this, going back to Chrome, and you just wanted to know what version it was, you can just right-click on. Let's see, actually go to Report, go to New Report, and there's another option. It's called
Report.
New Report, and it's my God.
You're not even
Report
tricking
from
with me today.
collection. This will only happen if you've got a collection selected. You can create a report from a collection. It's not going to be a SQL report. You can only do this with basic reports. But this will save those filters. It's nice because you don't have to redo all those filters. And then you can say computer, we'll change that to application name, and we'll change it to application version,
Yeah.
and then run it. And we'll see those are all the different versions. Notice some of them do have older versions. This is an example. You take actions on collections. If you really want to get the nitty-gritty, that's where you'll use reports. And if you really need the nitty-gritty, that's
How
where you
about
might
this?
need to use SQL reports.
So get this, right? Actually, our next report that we're going to run is literally related to this.
Okay.
So it's computers that have more than one version of an application installed on that computer. So let's do an example of a SQL report. And then also all of these queries are in the bonus content, so you can copy and paste. We're giving them to you. And
Okay. Let's do it. So we're going to go create a new SQL report.
we're going to say copy. Oh, let's go into our folder.
Notice she's selecting the SQL report folder. It's important if you do want to place it in that folder to select it. You can drag and drop it later on, but
Right.
if you don't, if you just say create new report and you've got a collection selected, it's going to go into the root of your reports folder. All right, so we've got change it, if you don't mind, change the name so people can see exactly what are we going to convey here?
We are looking at computers that have more than one version of an application installed on them. So say you
Of
have
the same application.
Yeah, same application, but different upgrades and such.
Those applications that allow you to run multiple versions.
So,
and
like,
stuff.
if you had two different versions of Java, this would show.
Right, exactly. So let's see. Greater than one.
Okay, so greater than one version of an application. Good.
We can change it. You think? Okay, so what we're saying is we want to see the computer name, we want to see the application name, and we want to see the version. And we're going to use an aggregate function to count those applications and call that a count. I did decide to concatenate this one because we kind of have a small network here, so it doesn't look as bad, and we can kind of see that. If we want to take it away, that's totally fine.
No, you're able to demonstrate the cool functions. So.
And then we're just saying from the computers table, we're
But
joining
this-
the applications table.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, that's all right. Now we want to know. Now we need to select which application we're talking about, right? Which package are we going to talk about? So we are going to say that the application name is like whatever we need.
And it's important to know that like is, if you're going to use wildcards
Right.
in SQL, like is the operator that you're going to need to use. And then the wildcard is a %sign. So what this looks like, if you can see that, is where the name, the application name, is like, and notice it's a single quote,
Right.
PDQ, and then %, which is basically it starts with PDQ
Right.
and
And
ends with
anything
anything.
after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything after that.
If you know your exact spelling there, you could use an equal sign, then the single quotes, and put it in there, but that's also the long
Yeah.
way. So if
And just so you know, when you do like, it does look at case. It's case insensitive.
Right.
Just keeping that in mind.
Oh yeah, even the command statements are case insensitive, but I like to capitalize all of the major clauses just because it's a little more organized and you can kind of see.
Yeah, it's a good style.
So we're going to group by computer's name. We want the computers to have an more than one application, right? Version.
More than one of that application. More than one application of
Name.
PDQ. So it won't show computers that have only one instance of a PDQ app. Okay,
All right,
let's run it.
So right now it looks like we have 6 computers here that have more than one application name.
That begin with PDQ.
Correct. The beginning.
And without that group concat, you would see Guinness listed twice, Heineken listed twice. Once for each of the applications. That's
Right.
without that.
Yeah.
Without having that group concat, and of course, the having is where you can count all the returned records.
Right. So we're saying greater than 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little bit more of a dynamic SQL report as opposed to the basic, but it will be available. You could switch these to other softwares or applications like
Softwares.
Softwares, you know.
The Boston's coming out. How many softwares are you running?
Like I just did, NVIDIA wildcard, and looks like we have 4 computers with that
Okay.
as well.
Do you have a computer in the web lab called Stud2?
Yeah, that was
it's
poorly
mine.
named.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's the one you're working on right now.
Is it
They were
really?
trying to shorten Studio,
This
and
is
they named
mine.
it Stud
Just kidding.
inadvertently. I
Alright.
called that out. I'm like, that's
There we
all
go.
right.
Here we are.
All right, here we are. Here we
What's
are.
what's another one? Do we have another question?
Sure.
Dear Shane and Stephanie, we want to run an SQL report that pulls the free space from our inventory, then run a package that executes disk cleanup utility on anything under, say, 5 gig. We also want to turn the disk cleanup utility on as a Windows feature with a PDQ package. It's not enabled on about 3,700 machines, so we need a way to turn it on. Thanks, Chad P.
All right. Hey Chad, multiple questions in that one.
Yep.
I would, if anybody from Solutions is watching, I'd like to throw into the bonus content, if we can, an example of a package that enables a Windows feature. If you don't mind, it's that you can do that in PowerShell right away. So you have one package, you'll enable that. But here you're saying you want to run a SQL report. We'll show you that, but you could also do this in a collection. You can do this in a basic report, but since we're talking SQL, let's go
Yeah.
ahead. You want to? Yes.
You wanna do that?
Well, it depends on how fast you can do it.
Well, now that you made me all nervous, I'm just kidding. So we're looking at the logical disk table.
Yeah,
right?
logical disk. So once again, there's the tables. And if you want to know what those columns are, go down to logical disks. And then you'll see those tables. And there should be a free space in there, I believe.
Yep. Let's go ahead and so let's say not star. Let's say free space.
And a great way to just verify that so far you haven't screwed up is just to hit run. You're not going to get too much data that's worth anything, but hey,
Right.
at least you know you don't have a SQL error. Now, really quick, let's see, we're going to put it on the spot. Hurry and show the computer name. So you're going to have to do a join, computer name and free space, and then do some math conversions so it's not showing in bytes. I think you want it shown in gigabytes.
So I'm sorry, you wanted free space, right?
Well, do the computer name first.
Okay, so we're gonna say
I'm telling a Boston person to hurry up.
we're gonna call it c.name, and we're actually gonna call this LD for logical disk, and we're gonna say we need comma, we need
And LD for
dot-
logical disk. Okay, that's fine.
We're joining computer table.
Yep.
Let's see, computers, and I already said it was going to be C, so we're doing that. And we're going to be using, Uding.
You're in.
And now we'll talk about Uding.
We're using computer ID on that.
Yep, computer ID.
I have not looked at that. Okay, that's cool. Using computer ID. All right, that's going to join.
Now let's make sure we got it running.
All right, let's run it.
We'll do the calculations later.
Boop.
Perfect.
All right, computer name, free space. Now, since we are going from byte, kilobyte,
Yeah, that's showing in bytes.
megabyte, gigabyte.
So you want to do a where clause that says where the LD free space is greater than, and then you can do. Well, I think what the point is, I would love to show them how to do the. It's showing in bytes how you can use SQL to show them. Show
Right,
kilobytes, megabytes,
Yeah.
gigabytes. Yeah.
Okay, so the conversion from byte to each step is 1024. Right?
Yeah.
So we need to divide. So we need to go from byte to kilobyte to megabyte to gigabyte. So we need to do that a lot of times. But, I mean, should we do like divided by 1024, divided by 1024, divided by?
Sure. Or whatever you want.
Okay, so since we are going 3 steps down, we can use an exponential power, right? So we can say what's 1024 to the power of 3, but I did bring a calculator. So I have 1024 to the power of 3, and that's a really big number. And we're going to go ahead and take this other really big number, which we had, right?
So she's actually just going to, instead of doing those conversions, you're just going to use the bytes and do the math on that.
So 1024, we're going to say free space divided by a crazy number.
I thought that was your phone when you came in. I'm like, oh, that's going to ring in the middle of the show.
So this is a really large number, and that looks kind of really messy, but that's going to take you 3 steps down instead of having to do divided by 1024, divided by 1024, divided by 1024.
So that's what you're looking at.
This is what you're looking at in gigabytes. So.
And then you could, because that returns that, then you could do the where free space is greater than. Do you have to do the conversion again?
No.
Okay, so
You should not have to.
So it's greater than. Let's just.
Well, he wants to
Actually, he wanted less than. So it's
Less.
let's do less. Let's do less than 30. So maybe we can get something back.
Okay.
'Cause we may not have
he
something.
said less than 5.
I know, but we
Yeah.
may not have one that's 5.
That's a good point.
Oh, we don't have one that's 30. I think ours were pretty big, so
Do
let's
99 just to make sure it returns something.
hold on.
I think the minimum is 300 that we have, right? 300, 100. Oh, 107. Oh,
Now we get ordered by.
Oh, that's 23.
yeah.
Maybe we do have to.
If you
I think you have to-
rename
you have-
that,
you
I
have to
think you can
divide it
use
again.
the name. Otherwise, you do have to do
You
the
have to do the
calculation in the
conversion.
where clause.
Yeah, you do.
Bummer.
That's okay.
Where LD free space is less than. Wait, what was that?
99 is fine. We should still return something from 99.
Yeah, but
you're gonna want to do the where free space and then do that division again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Division or
sorry.
multiplication?
Phew. I'm like,
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
107, 37418.
But I want to show. I want to show a way that most of the there we go. So these are everybody that have less than gigabytes. So, here's what I want to show. If you don't mind, a conventional way, what you might see if you inherit is somebody saying free space slash, which is the divide, right? 1024
Yep.
divided by again 1024. And you just keep going. That's oops, pardon me, put that slash in if you don't mind. This is kind of conventionally what you would see.
Right.
Is that right? You just have to make that step. So I like the way you're going. Hey, you know what? I'm just going to put this in here because I know what I'm looking for. But
Right.
anyway, that's
Yes.
an example.
Actually, this is more like visually pleasing.
Is there a free? Okay. Anyway, hopefully that answers. Is there another question? Do you have another query you want to show?
We want to show a last successful heartbeat. Computers that are online and offline.
Sure.
All right, so let's. Oh, do you want to save this?
Yeah, sure.
And this is not the version of application, right? So we're looking at.
I want to also call out, I mentioned it earlier, if you're using a SQL report, you cannot convert this to a collection. You can a basic report. A basic report, you can say, basically take the filters in this report and create a collection, and vice versa. But you can't do it from an SQL report.
We'll put the one that you just did in the bonus content.
Okay.
Do we want to do heartbeat, or do we want to do like applications?
Steph, got to do the heartbeat. That's one I always love.
All right,
Let's do it.
I'll do it just for you then.
Actually, you know what? No, because I can tell you, more people are going to want. I'm going to supersede. More people want to know this one here. Computer A does not have applications that computer B and C do.
Right?
Show that one. Sorry, Lex.
No, you know what? I agree with that. Definitely better query to show.
So we were talking about this yesterday, right? And I said, we've got this query and yada yada, and you said, well, what is that, right?
What's it good for? Really, is what I was asking.
Yeah.
Oh no, we've had people say, I want to know the difference between these computers, and here's an example. So you're
What Steph said, she goes, I just got added to the group, and Kelly has this on his machine, Lex has this on machine. What do I need to have on my machine to have it match?
Right. Like
What am I missing?
say we're hiring, right? Someone new gets hired. It's like, okay, what does so and so have on their computer? What these two computers, and what does this new hire need? This is a good idea.
So you're comparing. You're saying, show me all the applications from the computer that begins with the name Jerry,
right.
and then where whatever application Jerry has is not in the computer Guinness, and that Guinness is misspelled, and you call yourself Boston.
That we'll see.
Let's check it out. There's two N's.
Is it spelled right on your instance?
Is it spelled right on your arm? No regrets.
Yeah, no regrets.
And then tiny rig. So here, notice the ands. We haven't covered this yet. You have your where clause, and if you have to do more than one comparison, then you don't do multiple wheres. You just do an and or an or.
Right.
So where the name is like Jerry, and the applications that are returned are not in, and then we're doing a subselect. Anything that begins with an in, we're saying take computer ID here, or the computer ID, and then run another query, and that's encapsulated in parentheses. And just, this is, so you don't have to do, oftentimes a lot of joins, but it's really, I don't care what's out there except for what's returned. Just tell me, is there an application here that's not there, or vice versa.
So it's a word of query inside of a query.
I definitely want this one out there because this has two examples of subselects, and it has a where clause that has some ands. That sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. It might already be on the bonus content, but if not, then it will be right after.
So now we know that Jerry, if you really wanted to have Jerry match those computers, these are the applications that Jerry would need. And obviously, with this query, you're going to have to change it depending on the computer names.
Right.
And we're not using...
unless your computer names are as cool as ours.
And notice that we're not using the computer filter function that we talked about earlier because it's inconsequential in this case. We don't care what collection it's in. We're actually saying these computers. In fact, using that computer filter can actually screw it up a little bit if Jerry or Guinness or Tiny Rick don't exist in there.
Yeah, that's true.
You sure you're from Massachusetts and you misspelled Guinness?
I know, you know.
We get HR over here.
We're going to have to talk about the longevity of your employment.
I think in Boston that's considered a hate crime.
Well,
cool. Do we? Let's go ahead and wrap it up. We're gonna throw this. We're gonna throw these out on the extra content.
Bonus content.
Bonus content. Check out SQL snippets with Stephanie.
Yeah.
She is the SQL guru, and maybe every now and then she'll throw in some snowboarding techniques.
Oh yeah.
Or at least maybe a picture of her after a yard sale where she's totally biffed it down the mountain and just crap is everywhere.
You guys have got to hear her rap. It's amazing.
Oh,
especially
no,
the Boston accent.
Well,
No.
the wicked queries. Come on, sign off with a Boston accent.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching today. Weekly webcast at PDQ.com here in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Rock on, everybody.
Hey, join me on Mondays. SQL Snippets with Stephanie. Stay tuned.
She's wicked smart. Congratulations to Chad P. and Dan S., winners of PDQ Swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you back here next week.